Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I have an MCOC progression guide for February 2020. This is updated including the Abyss of Legends. Quick start here, I have a small key here. So in the top left here is the key. So if it is bolded, this is considered a milestone either in static content or monthly content. This is something, like once you've done it, you either want to keep on doing it or it's already done. It's a permanent achievement. Anything in orange is like as you go down the progression guide, this would be like, hey, if you're stuck on the previous milestone, these are things you can do in the meantime / help yourself progress forward, etc. Anything in the blue is like a player progression advice. So this is like mastery or champion consideration, because there are a few instances where champion consideration is applied, or like alliances. So just look out for those. And then I only have one green, but there is an instance where it is recommended that you do this monthly and maintain it. So that said, the first milestone is an Act 1 completion. So you just started the game, Act 1 completion. After that, you're going to do the beginner monthly event completion, and you're going to want to make a Marvel Insider account. It's like a separate website thing. You literally just Google Marvel Insider, because you can grab your free points for getting the monthly beginner event completion. After that, you'll move into an Act 2 completion fairly quick, and you'll move straight into a normal monthly event completion from that, and again, grab your Marvel Insider points. So after that, you want to unlock parry, then unlock dexterity, and you want to start working towards precision and cruelty masteries, just because those masteries, at least the parry and dexterity, are like vital to the game, and the precision and cruelty are going to really accelerate your damage a lot, and are almost core in every mastery build. Just kind of not talked about too much. And if you're stuck from here, like you aren't able to do like the next part, which is Act 3 completion, you can always go for like an Act 1 exploration for a 3-star or a normal monthly event 100%. You can do the beginner 100% as well, but the rewards honestly just aren't that great. So that's really only if you're like really pushing or struggling to get a hand on like the parry / dexterity, but honestly you're probably better off spending your time in arena. After an Act 3 completion, you'll want to look into joining a low alliance. Feel free to just use the in-game search, to be honest, because any rewards are better than none, and you're not going to be with this alliance for like too long. So if you can find an alliance that's even like relatively active, like 6 to 10 players even that are like active, that's plenty. You'll get some low alliance quest points, a little bit of glory, a little bit of war rewards, nothing too crazy, but you get comfortable and used to playing with other people, as well as mostly you get those weekly events, those 3-day events, which are like energy refills, revives, and all that good stuff, and you can kind of just break the ice on the alliance. After that, you're going to want to look into a heroic monthly event quest completion. Again, grab your free Marvel Insider points, and if you're having trouble doing that, feel free to continue maintaining a 100% monthly normal event, and if time and energy allows, for like limited content / the other parts of the story, you can continue, maybe like the beginner event as well. But again, you should progress through these fairly quickly, and you always have arena to push extra like units and stuff. After you've done the completion, you want to grab the heroic monthly event 100%, and this is when you want to start doing like class dailies / proving ground dailies, explorations as needed. You don't really want to over farm, because these resources, they get outpaced fairly quickly in the game, but you are going to be doing this for quite a while, just these daily quests. Just go in, grab what you need, and then wait patiently. The class specific ones cycle every week, and the proving grounds for the basic stuff, it resets every single day. Just make sure that when you do go in to do it, you allocate the energy to do this 100%, because honestly it's way more efficient to grab the 100%, but even if you really need, the completion is worth as well. So after you've done the heroic monthly event 100%, you want to do an Act 4 completion. It is incredibly recommended that you pop an EXP boost here, because this is where you're gonna get your levels. This is where you get levels, that's where you get mastery points, and that's really going to accelerate your account a lot. If you're running into Act 4 and you're like, whoa, this is a bit of a wall, start looking at like an Act 3 exploration. Even if you haven't finished your Act 1 exploration, just jump straight into Act 3. At this point, the Act 1 rewards aren't too amazing for you, so feel free and comfortable to just continue Act 3 instead, and then continue to maintain a heroic over a normal, monthly 100% as energy / time allows. And if you've done the heroic 100% already, then feel free to do normal. But normal very quickly gets outpaced in the game. As far as player progression, at this point you're going to want to like max out the Stupefy mastery for an extended stun on your parries. You're going to want to start considering like what your preferred masteries are, whether or not you want to veer towards like the deep wounds and the despair and assassin tree, or you want to veer towards like suicides. Maybe you grind a lot of arena, and you really need to start the unit save because it's going to cost you a ton of units to do both of those. Not to mention you're going to want plenty of units saved up for when you eventually make your uncollected push. Next up we have Master. So the next milestone is getting that Master monthly event quest completion. This is spelled wrong. That's going to drive me nuts. And again, go to Marvel Insider and grab your free points. You know, it's good energy there on Marvel Insider. You can get some champions just for like the trophy / collection, and you know, and that's always free. So don't worry. You can just grab those just for completing. And then after that, you want to start looking at 5.1 and 5.2. And then mentally, like when you go to do Act 5.1.2, 5.1 and 5.2, you're going to want to mentally be ready to hit a wall. Because this is definitely one of like the first initial like skill walls for players in the game, but that's okay. Don't be afraid to go in there and restart that first fight over and over and over and over again until you get comfortable with the nodes in each quest, and just honestly start, you know, enjoying what becomes Marvel Contest of Champions when it starts to get a little bit complicated, at least going forward. And then as far as like roster considerations, you're going to want to start looking for good collector options for 5.2.6, the boss there. You know, like Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, Ghost, Corvus Glaive, Captain Marvel movie. You want to find an option that will just absolutely obliterate him, get a lot of damage out, because that's going to save you a ton of units. Because honestly, your initial completion of 5.2 is probably going to be units and revives. But don't feel too bad about that. That's a fairly normal approach to the game. And then here in the green, you know, once you've hit that wall and you're like trying to slowly make your Act 5.2 completion push, you remember that you want to always get your Master 100% and your Heroic 100% on the monthly event. And then maintain like the normal and the beginner completion. But at this point, there's no point in going beyond a completion unless there's like a specific incentive on like monthly objectives or something. But for the most part, completion is all you need there, and it is like unit effective to grab the normal and beginner completion, so feel free to grab those. And then as well as continue your Act 4 exploration. Again, you want to be EXP boosting through this. Don't really want to be using champion boosts because you want to save those for your Act 5 pushes. Next up, once you've done your Act 5.2 and you have your uncollected title, you want to start doing the uncollected monthly event completion. You know, that feels good. And at this point, once you've like actually successfully done an uncollected monthly event completion, this is when you're going to want to join a new alliance of uncollected or greater players, because this is time to find your relatively permanent home. You ideally want to be in a map 3 to map 4 or 5 alliance, pushing 3 battle groups for alliance quest, and at the very least casual war, because you know, even casual war is free rewards. You know, you don't have to take it too seriously. Just go in, claim your free rewards. If you lose, you lose. If you win, you win. Hey, you're getting free stuff. And then, you know, this is going to be like your relatively permanent home for quite a while now. So don't be afraid to like look around, try out a couple alliances until you find a good fit, at least community wise. And then next up, you're going to want to be doing like the monthly side event as well. You always want to do like the highest difficulty you can. Epic is better than Masters, Masters is better than normal, etc., etc. And it's kind of conditional based on the month, because sometimes it's like, oh, we're only doing one difficulty because you're getting things like baskets or something, and those are like your tickets to get into the event. And sometimes it's, you know, 5 additional quests and you need to complete / explore all of them, and you're always going to want to do at least the 3 highest as an exploration, and then normal and beginner as completion, if it is one of those events where you have to do all of them. But otherwise, if it's like, oh, you're only picking and choosing, then you want to do the highest difficulty you can, and really kind of like do the math a little bit on the rewards to see where you should land if you can't get a completion, but like maybe your rewards are saved. And then as a player at this point, you want to learn to intercept, backdraft intercept, sidestep, bait heavies, and reparry when it's applicable. These are like the next set of skills in your arsenal that you really want to learn, because this is when you need to start using those skills to take down content. So if you're stuck here, right, like the monthly event / the monthly side events are getting too difficult, you can start looking at some free content 100% cheese. So you got like, if you have Thing, Champion, Hela, Heimdall, and Angela, preferably the Thing being like a maxed out 4-star or higher, then feel free to go into variant 2 and just cheese a completion run. At the very least, chapters 1 and chapter 2, you know, it's okay if you only do one chapter at a time. You're still going to get some decent upgrade rewards just for clearing one chapter. And that's a really good way to like cheese some really good upgrade rewards. If you have Ghost or Sentinel, go grab a completion of chapters 1 and 2 of variant 3. If you're very confident or you are determined to use units, you can do the King as well, but that's going to be just kind of a small wall there that you can't really get past without like extreme skill with Sentinel or units with Ghost. There are many other tech options as well that can do chapters 1 and 2 of variant 3 without too much of an issue, so feel free to look into those options as well. These are just two that I wanted to list. If you happen to have rank 4 5-stars, feel free to grab a variant 4 completion because only the first 2 quests are 5-star locked. After that, it's 4, 3, 2, and 1 stars, so you can grab a full completion for relatively cheap as long as you're able to get through those first 2 quests. Just look up the boss fights on those because those are fairly difficult slash have, you know, very specific playstyles that you need to do. If you're feeling squirrely and you have a Gambit in any form, you can look into Ultron's Assault Chapter 1 completion, but after you've done that, you really just ignored Ultron's Assault. It is by far like the worst variant for a completion or an exploration one, so just pretend it doesn't exist for a while. At this point, you should start looking into a Realm of Legends completion. The rewards are meh, but you know, it's about time you start thinking about crossing this off the list, so at least it has the nice explored tag on it. And then finally, Act 4 exploration continued, XP boost, no champ boosts, and then save those champ boosts for Act 5. Next up, you're going to want to be doing, like, your next milestone is going to be uncollected monthly event 100%. And if you're struggling with that, again, see above for like the variant options you have. Continue your Act 4 exploration, and if you're done with Act 4 already, start thinking about Act 5.1 100%, and then continue to maintain your heroic and master monthly exploration. After you can finally do the uncollected month 100%, you're going to want to start looking at 5.3 and 5.4 completions. Feel free to boost up. 5.3 is a little bit of a slog, but it's a lot better when you're popping champion boosts and attack boosts. Just make sure that before you pop boosts for 5.3, you like go in and make sure you can take out like the first 2 to 3 fights without having to boost, because you want to make sure that your skills are honed up, that you're not like wasting a bunch of revives and a bunch of champion boosts and then just dying and failing to complete a path. But once you can do those first 2 or 3 fights on the paths, feel comfortable boosting up and then pushing your way through. And at this point, you're going to want to start thinking about a good answer for the 6.1 crossbones. Look up into that boss because there's definitely a lot of frustration there, but there are a lot of like really good options, and it doesn't have to be a one-shot option. It could be like a high damage potential like Captain Marvel movie, who just cheeses it with revives, because again, when you get to that 6.1 crossbones, it's just about the completion, not about having to fight him multiple times. And at this point, you're going to want to establish your level 60 slash almost level 60 mastery setup. You really want to solidify where your masteries are, because that's kind of going to mold your roster a little bit, particularly whether or not you're running suicides or not running suicides, slash if you're gearing towards like deep wounds or mystic dispersion and the like. So lots of guides out for that. But it's really important that you spend the units that you need to get your mastery page set up and maximize those points. Again, if you're stuck here on 5.3 slash 5.4, you're going to want to see above for the variants again as well, and you can start evaluating the feasibility of variant 4, 3, and 2 completions in general and explorations. Each variant has different champion roster restrictions and like champions or pools of champions that you need to dip into and skill sets to get the clear. You're really going to want to look at all of them, but like a quick rundown is like variant 4 is after you have your 5 stars, it's really just a matter of pushing through with units and skill, because only the first 2 quests are 5 and 6 star gated. After that, it's 4 stars and below, so the only thing stopping you is like a 1-star Hulk. You have to have a 1-star Hulk for variant 4 exploration. But you can grab the variant for chapter 1 and chapter 2 explorations just with 5 stars, 4 stars, and 3 stars. And it's not too bad, especially if you're willing to use some units. Variant 3 is all tech. Kings are the beast. You really want like a Sentinel, a Ghost, a Stark Enhanced Spider-Man, Doc Ock, one of these, a Warlock, one of these kinds of champions to really powerhouse your way through, and then just a matter of sitting down and properly not getting frustrated. Variant 3 is definitely one of the more obtainable explorations, just, as long as you have the right answers. And then finally, Variant 2, I think personally out of the three, this is the one I recommend doing last, but if you have the right roster, you could definitely push through just fine, especially if you're like a God tier Quake player. But yeah, that's like your quick rundown, because Variant 2 is mostly extra large / heavy based champions. And then again, continue your Act 4 exploration and Act 5.1 if 4 is already completely done, and maintain your heroic and master monthly exploration. So now, once you've done your 5.3, 5.4 completion, you want to start looking at a Cavalier push, Act 6.1 completion. For this, you need an Act 6.1 Crossbones answer. That is a hard gate. Look into that boss, check out that fight, and make sure you have a champion who is prepared to handle that fight. Because otherwise, you're just not going to be able to push past. No matter how many units you push, he's just going to heal up faster than you can take him down. And again, if you're stuck, see the above variant options / evaluate variant feasibility. Look into Act 4 exploration or Act 5 exploration, doing in the order. Personally, I think 5.1 rewards are better than 5.4, are better than 5.3, are better than 5.2. And if you do it in that order, I think it's like the least amount of pain for the best amount of rewards, because personally, I think that's the order to do it, because those are like the most mins and max gains. Personally, but you should probably have an Act 6.1 completion before you've done an Act 5 exploration. I feel like in this game, especially when you're juggling the variants and the Act 5 rewards, you can definitely get a roster to just cheese your way through 6.1 for the completion with just a handful of units. Continue your monthly explorations of the events, and if you have a good rank 5 5-star, it's at this point that you want to start maybe thinking about roads with Labyrinth of Legends. As well as a Labyrinth of Legends completion run. That's really only if you have one of the good rank 5 5-stars like Ghost, Domino, Aegon. If you have one of those, then you definitely could, stockpile some units and make that push. Grab yourself some good rewards. It's last on the list for a reason, but it's definitely something that you should keep in the back of your mind. Once you've done an Act 6.1 completion, it is at this point that I recommend joining a Cavalier level alliance, preferably with players who are progressing / have progressed as far as you, and this should be your relatively permanent home pending compatibility. Like, once you find this alliance and you find a group of people that you're comfortable with, settle down, relax, enjoy the game. Welcome to Endgame for the most part. You're at like the end stages of the game, and you can get comfortable and start appreciating the slow grind and higher difficulty content that is MCOC. And again, it is recommended that at this point, variants 2 through 4 be at the very least completed, if not explored, before continuing past this point. And if you start, you're going to want to start thinking about a good Mr. Sinister and champion boss counters for 6.2, because those two bosses are like the hard gates for 6.2. But once you have answers for those, we can start looking at the next milestones. So these next milestones are split up into 3, because you could honestly do any of these 3 in any order. So if you have an answer for Mr. Sinister, or you're ready to rage against the champion, you can start dueling the champion and get ready to cry / rage and push for an Act 6.2 completion, so long as you have the proper responses for those 2 champion fights, 2 boss fights. If your roster is very diversified as far as class and like roster strength, you can be very determined and go clear that last variant, grab the completion first and then the exploration. But personally, I think you might be pushing 6.2 first, but hey, some people are determined to do variants before they push too much of Act 6. And then finally, if you have a rank 5 5-star and you haven't done Labyrinth of Legends yet, I really recommend you look into a rank 5 5-star that is good for Labyrinth of Legends and you make that completion push. It's solid upgrade rewards. The first completion's not too bad. It's really the follow-up completions for the exploration that's where it gets a little bit frustrating, but go ahead and grab those rewards. And then as far as a player progression goes, you're going to want to start mentally gearing up for Abyss of Legends. It's maybe a ways away for you, but you're going to want to at least start preparing, and then we can start looking at an Act 6.3 completion. I put Act 6.4 completion here question mark because it'll be coming out eventually, and that's definitely going to be want to be something on your radar. And then as far as like if you're stuck because like all of these last milestones really come at the same time, you can start looking at like Act 6.1 100% for a tier 5 basic, to 100% of Labyrinth of Legends for tier 2 alpha. You get like 8 there, and Act 6.2 100% will give you both. Act 6.3 100% is next. We're filling this in as we go, and then finally, you got Abyss of Legends. But honestly, Act 6.4 is probably going to take the last point for most people, but hey, this is at least where we are now. That said, hopefully this progression guide has helped out a lot of people. I'll have a link to the spreadsheet in the description below, and I'll talk to you all